All right, so we got 10 o'clock. We're going to start off with this deep dive. Excited to have you here. You know, I know your time is extremely valuable. I want to share with you as much as I can that's going to give you the most relevant information that's happening. And that's why we started these deep dives is, you know, how do we share with you the most relevant information that's happening over the past month and make it really timely for you? The second thing is this is just a quick monthly check-in. I'm summarizing for you a lot of the conversations that I'm having with CEOs and teams that I'm working with. So hopefully this can help you in your company. And then we're going to have we have a Q&A function that's there. If you have any questions throughout the deep dive, just type those in there. And at the end, I'll take a look at them. But let's get into it. You know, it's a tumultuous time. It continues to be a time where, you know, there's a lot of waves of change and disruption that are always flying at us. One of the things that I want to focus on today is talk about communication, because communication as a leader is critical. And, you know, when the seas are really calm, communication, it's important to be a good communicator. But when the seas are really rough and there's a lot of fear, a lot of unknowns, it's super important that we communicate really, really strong. So let's just take a little poll right here. I'm going to throw a little poll on the screen. And if you could, I want you to rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How well are you communicating as a leader to your organization? Now we put 1 as average and we put 10 as excellent. So just rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. If you take more than 3 seconds to think about this, you're taking too long to think about it. All right, we got some good. All right. So I'm going to share the results with you. Let's see what everyone said. Share the results. Okay, so looks like we're lower on the scale. And this supports a recent statistic that I saw from Gallup. And what they said is that the average person in a company, they believe, employees believe that communication is highly important. 89% believe it's highly important. But when the employees were asked, how well does your leadership team communicate with you? Only 17% said that their leadership team communicated effectively. So think about that, 17%. So there's 83% of people in your company who are saying your communication is lacking and I'd like more. A couple other stats really important that came out in this study last week. It says that 90% of employees want to be communicated with at least weekly. And then 29% said they prefer daily. So we're going to talk today about some things that you can really do to open up communications. Some of you are on the call. You might be doing this already. It's a great reminder that what you're doing is really important. But let me talk to you about one company we're going to talk about at the end as a case study. It's Horizon Hobby. They're 600 employees, worldwide company, offices all over the world. In January of 21, they were tracking their employee engagement. And then they took another test in October and tracked it again. And what they found is that they were actually on the same downward trend that Gallup was on. You know, Gallup measures employee engagement across the United States, and for the first time in 10 years, engagement dropped. So this is really significant. And so this company was on that same trend, and we came in with our engagement calculator. We were able to calculate exactly what that looked like, and that was a $463,000 loss that they were having. So I'm going to take you through. At the end, I'll take you through exactly what they did and the results that they were able to achieve. But they brought us in right in September and said, hey, we see we're on this downward trend. We'd like to do something different about it. And again, I'm excited to share with you exactly what they did. I think you're going to have a lot of key takeaways when you see this. Look, today it's about companies making the most smart decisions the fastest. That's not you at the top trying to manage and direct everything you're on your own. You have to push decision-making down. And it's not enough just to try to grit it out. I mean, after the first couple months of COVID, I know companies gritted it out and they were able to, you know, establish a remote workforce. But then the change and the disruptions came more frequently, and there was a cataclysmic shift. So you have to shift what you're doing as a leader. And so let's take a second poll right now of how well you feel you're ready to lead in this disruptive world. I'm going to launch it again. So on a scale of 1 to 10, rank how prepared you are and your organization is to be able to be successful in this new and disruptive world. Scale of 1 to 10. Awesome. All right. Oh, still got some ones coming in. Good. I'll give it another couple seconds. All right, great. Okay, I'm going to share the results. Here's what the results say. Looks like we're somewhat prepared. And, that's what we're seeing in a lot of companies. Here's recent statistic that should make you think about this as it relates from Korn Ferry. What it said was it evaluated the leaders that are needed to lead today. And it says only 14% of leaders possess these new skills and these new tools to lead today. And, some of you might be saying, hey, look at Mark, I'm just gonna, fake it until I make it. Well, here's another interesting statistic, because they asked employees, hey, what do you think about your leader's ability to get you to this new level? And only a whopping 71% said, I don't think my leader has it to be able to do that. And so there are new skills and there are new tools that you need to learn and bring into your company. So let's talk about some of the latest challenges. I'm going to give you the latest statistics on what's been going on in the last 4 weeks. Gallup employee engagement just came out again. That first 2% drop that you saw in the example that I gave you earlier, there was another 2% drop. Here's the latest statistics on the average US company. 17% of people are miserable in their job. They hate their job. They're rowing against everyone else. 51% are apathetic. These are people who sometimes have their oar in the water and sometimes they don't. And then there's 32% that are inspired. Here's the key thing. That 32% a year ago was 36%. So somehow 4% have moved into the apathetic and into the miserable. And if you haven't seen this before, it's pretty shocking for you, but it puts it into perspective. This is what the rowboat looks like of our company. You got 2 people rowing in the wrong direction. We got 5 people who are somewhat rowing sometimes, and sometimes they're not. And then we got 3 people who are rowing really hard. A great example I love to use with leadership teams is, hey, what if you bought a everything pizza, meat pizza, cheese, vegetables, cost you $28. And then what if you got delivered what you see on the screen? What if only 50% of the pieces were cheese? What if 2 were missing? And what if only 3 were what you ordered? Now, I think you'd probably be on the phone to wherever you ordered the pizza and said, hey, something's going on here. I need to do something different about this. You'd probably order from a different pizza place. But this is what we're doing. We're allowing this to happen in our company, and there is a cost that is associated with it. And again, that's the return on engagement. So that's number one. These are the latest statistics. Make sure that you're aware of them. Number 2 is last month came out another study, and the perspective that employees have from working from home. And again, in your business, it's only if you're able to do that. Here's the latest statistics. 92% of employees, they want to work at least 1 day from home every single week. And then 80% want to work more than 3 days from home every week. Now, look, if you're in a manufacturing facility, there's no days you can work at home, but you have to understand, when there's this tremendous war that's on talent, other companies are offering these types of things, these remote work options, and employees are enjoying them. So just put this in the back of your mind as you're looking for what you're going to do with your remote workforce. Number 3, there's a tremendous war on great talent. Latest job statistics released from the Bureau of Labor last week, 11.3 million open jobs, only 5.9 million people unemployed. Now, what I want to point you towards is that I'm not saying all 5.9 million people who are unemployed are not great workers, but I would say that most of the A players and the B players, they're working, they're fully working. So what's happening is companies, your competitors, they're not hiring employees from unemployed. Most of them are hiring from companies just like yours. And so it's really important that we make sure that we're staying highly connected to our A players and B players, because obviously they're the ones that power the boat. So just be aware of these statistics that are happening. Fourth, recent study came out and said that the decisions that we have to make as leaders, that they're 65% more complex than last year. So there's all these disruptions, more complexity in decision-making, not only happening at the top, but it's also happening for all our employees. And if our message isn't crystal clear about what we should be focused on and what we shouldn't, it's going to cause a lot of wasted resources, fear, and disruption. And what is all this leading to? It's leading to burnout. Now, 69% of employees report that they're feeling burned out working from home. Those that feel burned out, 2.5 times more likely to find another job. Just released yesterday, Gallup came out, and the highest industry is teacher burnout at 44%. And you can imagine with all the challenges that they've had going on. One function that you would not think about as having the highest turnover rate, but maybe it does make sense. HR is having some of the highest turnover rate. So, your HR person under a lot of pressure to create a new type of work environment and make sure they keep the culture strong. There's a lot of pressure there. All right, so let's talk about the last thing, and this is just economy concerns. Look, there's a looming, or there's inflation that's, record gas prices, record inflation. There's a recession that might be coming up. There's a lot of talk about that in the industry. And then there's layoffs that are happening. Now, just last week and just yesterday, a list of where those layoffs are coming from. I mean, there's some pretty big companies. I was surprised. Now, TikTok, Vimeo, Netflix, Tesla, JP Morgan, Microsoft even, PayPal. So, and there's a lot more companies that are out there. So just know that this is looming out there, and your employees are seeing this too. And I want you to get ahead of this as it relates to a communications piece of, what might people be thinking of, like, hey, is our company going to be strong if we go into recession? What's going to exactly happen? Make sure you get out ahead of that. All right, so let's get into the 3 leadership keys, and then we'll go through the example, and then we'll wrap this up. So 3 keys to leadership. We call the company Lead with Purpose, and I'm going to lead with that. Purpose equals retention. Look, 83% of employees who have a strong purpose or feel a strong purpose, they intend to stay at their company 5 years. So if you ever wanted to say, hey, how can I retain people? Make sure people understand the purpose. Number 2 is purpose equals highly resilient and highly agile employees. Now, this is a study by Global Force. They came out and said that when they looked at people who were highly resilient and extremely agile, they had 2 times the feeling of meaning and purpose at their work. And frankly, it just makes sense. If you're really engaged in what you're doing, you're gonna stay after it. You're gonna stay with it, and you're gonna be a lot more resilient. Number 3 is the Great Reassessment. When we think about the Great Reassessment, 67% of employees are reflecting upon their current work and whether they're having purposeful work. So make sure that you are making it extremely clear that what happens at your work is making a difference. And then 50% of employees intend to change the job if they don't feel that at work. So if you needed any reasons to get really clear on your purpose, then those are great reasons for you. All right, so the biggest thing that we see, and so what can you do, right? So the biggest thing that we see as it relates to purpose is the message is there. The message is there, but there's too much that's in and around it. And we spend too much time talking about what our purpose is. So instead of showing something like this, we want you to really just leave what's most important on the screen. So let's talk about simplifying a message. Here's an initial mission statement from a company that we worked with. No one could remember it. I remember asking the CEO, hey, tell me about the mission statement. And he said, hey, I looked for the binder that was behind them. And then what we did is we worked with them and we just shortened it. So your mission statement should be between 4, maybe 7 words. And if you attach an image to it, it's a lot more likely that you're going to be able to remember it. So what you can do is really make sure that your mission statement is succinct, and then attach an image to it. The other thing is the initial mission statement on the left. If you're reading through it, it just takes too long to read. That was really focused on the client, and the mission statement that's on the right is focused on the client. So that's number one. Number two is make sure you're connecting what's happening at the company and the products that they're making. Make sure you connect that to the end user. Now, this is a company called Parker Hannifin, and they do a really great job of talking about better engineering that leads or enabling engineering that leads to a better tomorrow. And on their site, they've taken something as simple as an engine, and what they've done is they've turned it into that engine is then allowing the marine industry to be much greener. So making sure the employee who's making the engine understands that they're having that impact in the world. Second example that they have is they're using fountain drink technology. I thought this was really creative, but they're using fountain drink technology to enable vaccines. So the person working on the fountain, they're gonna be able to be connected to, hey, that's going to help distribute a vaccine. So it's really important to follow your product all the way to the end, and you to be able to be really clear with your employees. The third thing that you have to do here is just a lot of marketing. So here's a company that went through the process. They created a brand purpose statement, a mission statement called Impacting Lives Together. They actually added it to their logo, which was fantastic. And then they had it on their website. This is the front page of their website. So really important to do internal and external marketing. So those are the three things that you need to really focus on, connect to the mission. All right, so we talked about the most smart decisions, the fastest. Why do we want to empower employees? And that's the second piece that I want to talk to you about. The results are pretty amazing. Empowered employees are 79% more engaged. They give 67% more effort. And the companies are 21% more profitable. So what's the biggest thing that you can do? I want to show you two companies to give you a visual of which company is going to be more successful in this dynamically changing world. So here's an organizational chart, and here is company A. Company A has most of the decision making being made at the top of the company. You can see here that it's more of a directive company. They're directing information down. And then there's company B, same company, but different, where they've empowered decision-making. They've pushed decision-making down throughout the entire company. Now you can see that company A has 31 great decisions every single day. Company B has 60 great decisions. And so what you're going to notice is that in a day, that's what the difference looks like. You might say, hey, that's not a big difference, but what does it look like in a week? It's 155 versus 300. What does it look like in a month? And then what does it look like in a year? Almost double the decisions that are being made. Now, as a leader, this is great because you get to push decision-making down. You get push decision-making closer to the employees. So it's really important that we take and push decision-making down. Now, the biggest and power challenges in the company is the leadership team. And a lot of times the leader can't let go. They doubt that employees will be successful. And then they just get frustrated and they say, hey, look, it's easier for me to do. So the first thing that you have to do, and a lot of things that you can do, but the biggest thing that you can do is establish a daily meeting. Now, this daily meeting is going to allow you to be able to communicate on a daily basis, but it's also going to allow you to develop leaders and do decision-making in the moment, in that day. And that's where everyone's going to learn how to be a better decision-making. The daily meeting agenda that we teach is it's a stand-up daily meeting. It's 15 minutes. The first part of the meeting is you're doing professional development. Second part of the meeting is you're talking about your vision for the day, the top 3 things that you're going to do today, any coordination that you need, any resources that you need. And then the final thing is you recognize each other for living the values and the brand purpose. So you might be saying, hey, wow, how do you get that done in 15 minutes? Too long for me to go through right now, but we have an opportunity at the end where you can learn how to be able to do these daily meetings in a really productive format. All right, so daily meeting, super important to put in place. Second is I want to talk to you about guided decision-making. I went to youth national soccer coaching course, and learned about this guided decision making. And a woman named Lynn Kidman looked at, and I thought this was really appropriate. We do a disservice to others when we do for them what they can and should do for themselves. Now, she has an entire book on how the New Zealand rugby team got a new coach, and that new coach was more of an empowering coach. And the way that he was able to be successful was by one simple thing, is that he just started asking a lot of questions. Now, here's a statistic and from the National Training Laboratory in Bethel, Maine. They wanted to know how well people remember certain topics. And just let me share this with you. If it's just a lecture, that's at the bottom. Then there's reading that can be done. Then there's audio visual. Then there's demonstration. Then there's having a discussion about a topic that a decision needs to be made. Then there's practice by doing, and then there's teaching others. And so when we look at the bottom, only 5% of people remember when they're just being lectured to. 10% when they're reading, 20%, you can see it keeps going up, 30%. When you have a discussion, it goes to 50%, and then practice by doing 75%, and then 90%. So down at the bottom, this is called passive learning, and then up at the top, this is called active learning. So the best empowering tool that you can implement as a leader is just asking a question. And I'm gonna share with you what that looks like. Ask a question back. So every question that you get asked, ask the question back. Someone asks you, hey, what should we do about this? Ask them back, what do you think we should do, right? And here's just some examples of what's that looks like. What do you think? What are the options? How would that make you feel if you did that? How does that align with our values, strive for excellence? Where could the answer be? What factors make up your decision? And then how do we make similar decisions in the past? And how should we handle this going forward? Now, just by doing that, what you're doing is you're going from, instead of telling them and lecturing them and telling them what the answer is, you're actually moving it up here to 50%. So a directive, just telling, they're only going to remember 5% of that. Discussion, they're going to remember up to 50%. And I love this quote by Covey. It says that without involvement, there is no commitment. All right, so that's the second one. That's the empower employees. And then the final one is make sure you're recognizing your employees. 82% of employees say they're not being recognized enough. Why would you want to recognize employees? 40% more effort, 40% less turnover. And you're gonna, when you do that, make sure you do it in front of others so you can strengthen belonging and you can strengthen the behaviors that get recognized. Here's a couple other statistics. Those cultures that have a recognition culture, where people are never recognized, only 30% of employees are engaged. If an employee has been recognized within the last month, there's 66% engaged. So you can almost double this just by giving one recognition a month. Here's another one. Believe my company is the best place to work. It goes from 57% to 91%. Here's just a ratio that you should be really thinking about. The world-class cultures, they have a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative that's happening in their company. So the final thing is just to make sure that you're defining, we call it Bravo Zulu, but you're defining your Bravo Zulu. All right, I'm going to go through a couple quick case studies here and then get you off here. But case study number one, again, this was a 600-person company, Horizon Hobby. And again, they were on this negative trajectory along with the rest of Gallup employee engagement. And again, they came to us and said, hey, can you help implement Lead with Purpose in the company? And again, that was a $463,000 dip that they had taken. We had them take an alignment test. We just had the leadership team answer 4 questions. What is the brand purpose or mission of the company? What are the values of the company? What's the vision of the company? And what are the top 3 goals? And these were the results as they started off. They were 13% aligned at the leadership team level, around 15% overall. And, you know, this should make you really think, because if you're only 15% aligned at the top, how can anyone below you be more aligned? They just can't be. So here's what they did. And they had a bunch of company challenges. The biggest ones were when we did a survey with all of their employees, communication was ranked as the #1 weakness. The leadership team, they defined themselves as not being aligned. You can see that by the test. They wanted to make decision-making easier. They said it was too complex, so they wanted to empower decision-making. They talked about being in way too many unproductive meetings where things were just talked about and there was no action. And then their customer service was lagging. And this is because of COVID, and they had a lot of people working from home. They wanted to switch from a command and control to more of a collaborative environment. And then as you can see, engagement was dropping. So the first thing that they did is we took their mission statement, which was this. It was really good. We're going to impact the world through good, through the influence. And then what we did is we just shortened it. And it went to this: inspiring dreams and building memories. And then what they did is they attached an image to it. Remember I said an image helps you to make it more memorable. And so they got really clear on it. This is their brand purpose now: inspiring dreams, building memories, and they attached that image to it. Now they did that also for their 5 values, for their vision. And then we made sure they understood what their top 3 goals were. And we had them retake the test afterwards. And just tremendous results. And this is what we see with a lot of leadership teams. They go from about 12, 13% aligned, they go to above 93% aligned. So this is just fantastic results. And then because they did that, and they were all speaking the same language, talking with the employees, they were able to push this down. Now there's a lot of internal things that they did too. They followed their product. So they changed the mindset of the employees. Instead of saying, hey, I'm just shipping a box, they said, hey, we're going to equate every box with a wow, saying that when a person opens up that box, we want them to feel a wow. And so I thought it was really creative how they did that. And so they said, hey, 1 box is 1 wow. They even did a container is 1,200 wows. And so this really helped to engage employees in exactly what they're doing and where their products were going. Doesn't matter where it was going in the world, they were helping to connect them to that. And they had a nice message in there from the employee as the customer opened up the box. Other internal marketing they put banners up with all the mission statement, the values. They did first-class stuff with this. Additionally, they added inspiring dreams and building memories. They added it to their logo. And so if you go on their site, you'll see it all over the place. And then finally, what they did is they created these cards. And the cards are ones that people can carry around. It has on their purpose or their mission statement, their values, and then what their vision is. So they did a lot of great stuff. And you see a lot of companies do this. But the key thing that they did is they implemented daily meetings throughout their entire organization. I can't tell you how proud I am of them, because this is a group here in a daily meeting, and they work on those machines. Spanish is their first language. English is their second language. Their readings start with Y in Spanish. And so being able to implement those daily meetings was key to taking everything that was happening, because they were communicating on a daily basis. They were to push all of that down. So it's it's fantastic. Now, they were really consistent in doing this, and the results that they got are pretty tremendous. Oh, last thing that they did is that on our platform online, they connected employees to it. So everyone's connected, and then we have an app that they can send and receive recognitions to each other. So everyone stays connected, and they're leveraging technology to do that. So what were the results? Pretty tremendous. Remember, they were on that downward trend, and they had a $463,000 loss. When they implemented Lead with Purpose and Fast Attack, they deviated from where Gallup went. Gallup went another percentage point lower, -3%, and they went up to -1%. And that was a good impact for them. And then in April, they retook it, and they kept going up on a trend. And so they're +2%, and Gallup for the average company went down to the -4%. So that's a 6% difference. Now, if they had stayed on that path, it would have been pretty. It would have been pretty costly, because you can see that the costs would have and the losses would have kept going down. So just tremendous job. And we can give people all the tools they want, but if they don't use them on a consistent basis. So congratulations to the leadership team and Horizon in general. I'm going to go through and talk quickly about case study number 2. It's a company, financial services company, about 35 employees, so a smaller company. We went through and did a study. They were following exactly the Gallup employee engagement statistics also. And this is what their boat looked like. They actually had, of the 35 employees, they had 4 rowing in the wrong direction. We went through and did a study on them, and same thing, we asked them, and they were 17%, 15%, 0% on the vision, 14%, and then they went above 93%. And this is another way that we're measuring return on engagement, is they went from 4 people rowing in the wrong direction to no people rowing in the wrong direction. And they were able to buck the trend of what Gallup happened and raise their engagement by 16%. And the impact to that smaller company is $104,000. So 2 great examples of a small company and a very large company taking and using these 3 things that we talked about today and implementing in their company to get tremendous results. Now, the CEOs of these companies are ecstatic. They love what's going on, not only because of the financial and the engagement savings, but they have a company now where they've pushed decision-making down, and it's less on their shoulders, and they distribute it out through their entire company. All right, so let's wrap up here. The biggest thing is, if you want to have tremendous change in your company, it's about consistency. And so it's about the small things that we do every single day. The 3 things that I talked to you about today, they're just small things that you can do every single day. And if you do those consistently over a long period of time, you're going to have a massive change. So as you're sitting here reflecting upon where you are with your company, if you're thinking about, hey, how could I implement those different things? I wish I could have gone into a lot more detail of how to actually do that, how to actually get your mission statement to be really succinct, or how to have really productive meetings. But I didn't have enough time to do that. And that's why we created a unique opportunity. If you feel great about what's going on in your company and you're good, then I've just confirmed for you that, hey, what you're doing, continue doing that. But if you say, hey, look, I know we need to make a shift, I know we need to make a change. We have 2 Fast Detect boot camps that are coming up, and they're coming up this fall. 3-day training that'll change the course of your company. It's going to be intense. We're going to give you the tools so you can set up your company to be successful, so you can shift not only your own leadership skills, but your organizational structure, so that you can succeed in this new and dynamically changing world. Now, if you want to learn more about this, you can email me at marc@leadwithpurpose.com. Remember, Marc's with a C. Also, we have an events page that you can go to and learn more about that. But that's it today. I don't know if there's any questions in the Q&A. We have any questions in the Q&A? Let me just check here real quick. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Got one? No, it's good. All right. So that means you guys are fantastic students. Hey, I know you're extremely busy. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you next month. And what I want to encourage you to do is go out, make it a great day.